It's been a while.
It's been a while. You guys are all beautiful. I wish I could see it better. It's all on my phone right now, and it's like, oh, I'm seeing these little small little pictures. I'm like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
here.
Well, I want to officially welcome everybody to this virtual gathering here. Thanks for being here. I'm Nate Mitchell, Anasazi's Director of Family Services.
And I'm co-hosting. My name's Tamara Hyde, and I was a trail walker at the Anasazi Foundation from 2006 to 2009. So welcome, everybody.
So over at the Anasazi office, there's really welcome. We're glad you're all here. We want to, we've been big fans of the Alone Show for a long time. And I don't know, it's kind of bragging rights. So there's a lot of Alone alumni that also happen to be Anasazi alumni. So we wanted to bring us all together and hear from you experts who've been on that show, kind of get a feel for, gosh, we got a lot of questions to ask you. So we appreciate you being here.
So the Anasazi Foundation is really a family.
If we start off by just...
Sorry, we got a delay, Nate. Sorry. But yeah, so once Anasazi, always Anasazi. It's such a unique experience. We feel such a kinship with really anyone who's walked the trail in any capacity, the people who've worked on the office, family members of people who have walked the trail. It's such a really unique experience and such an incredibly unique kind of person who wants to be involved in something like this. And so any opportunity we have to come together, in this capacity or in any capacity in the dirt or via the internet is always a blessing.
So let's start off with some introductions. If you could tell us your name, which season of Alone you were on, and maybe when you were at Anasazi. Whoever wants to go first, you could just go.
Okay, I'll start it off. My name is Dave Nessia, and I was on season 3 and season 5, so Patagonia and Mongolia. And I was at Anasazi from 2003 to 2009, I think. Oh no, I don't even know if that was long. But on and off for quite some time. Both experiences were astounding. And I don't know how much more you would like. At this point, I'm living in Georgia. And lately I've been doing a tremendous amount of fly fishing and being a fly fishing guide for a veterans group, which I've been enjoying. So.
I'll go next. Nathan
Speaking
Olsen.
of veterans, we're sad that we miss Brady Nicholls. He's not able to be with us because he got deployed.
Yeah, Nate's breaking up there a little bit. Brady Nicholls got deployed yesterday and I guess is en route to Germany. So unfortunately, he's not able to be with us today, which is, I was really looking forward to hearing from him. Anyway, Nathan Olsen, Alone season 12, Anasazi trail walker in the field from 1988 through the early 90s. And then with short periods throughout life. It's always a great place to go back and spend some time.
1988, that's old school, Nathan. You've seen some changes. Holy moly. I'll go next. My name's Lucas Miller. I started trail walking 2014. And I've actually walked and guest walked numerous times since 2014, even walked about 2 months ago. So that was incredible to get back on the trail. Of course, walked during the hottest time of the year. I'm on season 1 and also this spinoff they did called Alone Skills Challenge. So I was on a couple seasons.
Luke Olsen, season 10. I was at Anasazi. Too young to remember the years, but I was like, I think 7 when that got started, and we were delivering food packs and living on the trail till like the early 2000s, 2002, I think. Long time.
That's awesome. I would love to see what the trail was like back in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Callie. I was on Alone season 7 and also the spin-off Alone Frozen. And I walked the trail as a trail walker. I think I started back in 2010, and I remember Dave Holiday was the one doing our training, so it was a training to remember. And yeah, and then I came and went throughout the years as a trail walker, and then Ridge walked. I don't know what year that was. I'm not sure. Sometime. And yeah, I'm coming to you from Montana, and I've got a herd of goats all behind me, and it's fall up here, and it's already freezing at night. So reminded me of those cold nights on the trail with just a wool blanket. And happy to be here. Thanks you all for putting this together. It's really cool to come together like this.
Well, we got everybody, right?
That's all of us.
Okay, sweet. What I would really like to know is, before Anasazi, before Alone, what brought you into the wilderness in the first place? And what's that origin story? And what keeps you coming back to the wild? Assuming that you do keep coming back to the wild.
Well, go in sequence. I might as well go ahead. I'd have to be my first wilderness experience was at camp, where I learned my first one-match fire, my first edible plants, and then just took off right after high school, took off to Jackson, Wyoming, got into rock climbing, and that place opened me up quite a bit. And then after that, I got into Tom Brown stuff and did quite a few vision quests right in that time period. And that led me to Arizona and to Utah, where I was teaching for Boss. And yeah, just that continuous. And I'm still loving the land. I'm trying to do vision quests every 6 months. So I just finished a vision quest just on the equinox. And still as powerful and as guiding as walking the trail and as being on Alone, because every single one of them has been a connection to God in my eyes. So yeah, I don't know. Continue on.
Who else?
Oh, I guess I went after Dave, so I'll go. So Larry Dean Olsen, father to Luke and I, is the founder of Anasazi Foundation. Was teaching wilderness skills, was his entire lifetime career. So his children in the family, 10 children. We were the crew. Like a farming family puts the children to work on the farm. In the wilderness family, we were put to work, as Luke mentioned, hauling in food packs from a pretty young age. So been around for a while.
I'm curious, did you ever become resentful of the skills, or did you always love them? Because you grow up with it, right? Like you're like,
sure.
Like, did you ever find yourself being like, oh, I just want to watch cartoons? Or were you like, no, this is great?
I was really surprised that most everybody didn't have that as a base education when I got out in the world. Yeah. But no, I never really resented it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think our father was pretty good at making it fun. So,
well, Luke and Nathan, we did want to honor your mother who recently passed away. Both your mom and dad were not only so instrumental for Anasazi, but also really just pioneers of the whole primitive skills movement and have been a big part of bringing people into nature connection. So we just wanted to give condolences and honor your mom too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else has got a good origin story they want to share?
I grew up in Iowa and we didn't have a lot of wilderness, but my father would take us out on weekend walks just to find mushrooms or identify plants or look for artifacts along a river. And just even those little like backwoods in the 40s of somebody's cornfield, you know, you can kind of get this micro experience of a bigger nature world. And then when I was old enough to move away from northeastern Iowa, which was just, you know, it's all cornfields, soybean fields, you know, and see Colorado, I got into outdoor education, and that was the gateway for me. It was working with young people like my father had worked with me, and just finding a lot of fulfillment, passing on that love of nature and exploration. And yeah, that was it. Then everything else is just building from there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, I guess it's my turn, right?
Go for it.
Yeah, for me, you know, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, or in the urban sprawl, not very much wilderness, right, in the city there. But thankfully, my folks took me out camping, kind of like Lucas, and we got to go see, you know, go be out in wild places. And I always found that I was happiest outside. And then growing up in the city, I knew that I did not want to stay there and I wanted to get out. And even as a teenager, I just had these like urges. I was like, I just want to live in the woods. Who's living in the woods? But of course, I knew nobody living in the woods, but I had a dream to just be outside all the time and live out like our, you know, ancestors did. And so I was always, you know, trying to find plants or books at the library like that would help me learn. And I came across I don't know, at some thrift store or something, your guys' dad's book, you know, Larry Dean Olsen's book, Outdoor Survival Skills. And that book I clinged on to with other books about identifying plants. And as a teenager, I just go out on the weekends, I get out of town and just I wouldn't bring any food, and I just have these plant books and your dad's book, and just be trying to teach myself things. And anyway, it was a long road. But then I found out about Anasazi, and in a big way, Anasazi is this gateway into actually meeting other people that were into this sort of thing. My cousin was a participant at Anasazi. She was like a young walker. She was struggling, you know, with meth for years. There was a lot of addiction in my family and a lot of struggle there. And she was a young walker. And her mom, my aunt, was like, Callie, you gotta check this place out. There's these people called trail walkers, and they are your people. They are weird like you, and you will love them. They're talking all this lingo about like busting poles, and they're super weird. You will like them. And so that I knew. I then went up and looked up Anasazi, and then got, you know, started working there as soon as I could, and loved it. And then I finally found people that were actually practicing this stuff. It wasn't just books. And so Anasazi was huge for me as far as kind of helping find my people. So I'm forever grateful for, you know, the Sanchez's and the Olsens. And I'm so grateful I got to meet your guys' mom a few years ago at the Anasazi Day, and actually thank her in person for like the impact that Anasazi's had on my life. So there's goats smashing things. So yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. You know, I think there's so many people who have these kinds of transformations and have these kinds of experiences where they even had the audacity to conceive of such a thing as they saw it modeled somewhere, a lot of times in a book or some kind of media or something. And I think that's one of the great things that being part of Alone does, is that there's someone sitting on their couch who's going to maybe be flipping the channels, and they're going to be like, what is this? And that might kind of open their minds to what kind of experiences could I have, and that this is possible. So.
Yeah. And you never know the ripple out. Oh.
Exactly.
Right. It's not just a powerful social experiment for the participants, for sure. It's quite the form of entertainment and insight. A lot of it came from there as well.
Mm-hmm. Nate, are you on? Do you want to hit him with another question?
I'm here. I've got a question for you all. One of the questions that I get a lot of times about what makes the experience outside so powerful. One way that I have of phrasing that question is, where's the medicine? What is it about being out there that you find for your own life personally that makes that difference? Is it the people that you're with? Is it breathing the fresh air, sleeping on the ground? Where's the medicine in that experience? Why does it work?
For me, it's the silence of it, and just being able to be myself, not have to worry about anybody, any judgments, and then just seeing so much life around me at all times. That seems to definitely help me. Like if I'm hurting in any way, if I need to rest in any way, I'll go outside, have a run, do whatever it might be, and man, that just cures my soul. That's the one for me.
Yeah, I think it's actually like our natural resting place for, hundreds of thousands of years. It was our norm. And only really recently have we, built these man-made caves and brought in electric lights and done all the things that we call comfort now. But really, like, it is our real resting places that has been our comfort spot for longer, is nature.
And this, for me, when I started 2014, not everybody had phones in their hands just yet. Like, they were still there. But just to be in a space where you can actually see people's eyes again and you have real conversations and time moves slower at this more natural pace, that is so refreshing and like nourishing. I'm just like, wow, thank you. I can see people. They're not just clicking and hiding or fidgeting to get away because you can't go anywhere else. And so we're all like sunk into, we got our backs against a juniper and we can hear the stream moving. It's just, it feels right. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all y'all. It's just right. It feels to me it's home. It's where we all it's where we come from. And
Right.
being with all of the elements and immersed in it, it's just it's home and it's real life. And it just, as Lucas says, it just feels right to actually interact with the elements and to know what's going on outside and get to know all the plants and the animals and what everybody else is doing in this world. I think that we in our modern day society just have so many constructs. It's like made up stuff, but when we get outside, we get to boil everything back down to the basics, like boil it down to the simplicities and be grateful for we've got clean water to drink, we've got food to eat, and we're not freezing, and we have some people to laugh about it with, and life's good, and that's all you need. And I think it's really easy to get caught up in all the other things we think we need, but really when you're outside, and whether it's on the trail or on alone or just on your own fun camping trip with friends, it's like if you got clean water to drink, food for your belly, a warm fire, and a good, something warm, and maybe a goat to snuggle, that's it. You remember what's important.
The Anasazi culture is pretty, for lack of a better word, kind of like a bunch of comfortable weirdos. Like, we're all very much ourselves. Dave, you said something like you're just yourself, and out there you can't hide, right? Like, if you don't, when someone asks how you're doing, you don't just say okay, it's okay, and but you see everybody moving through these fluctuations. That somebody's having a hard day and crying over here, somebody's being taking a little bit of alone time and just journaling, reflective, and we all are there to support each other. And that feels again like something that I've missed, is that we're all here to help each other recalibrate and heal and find our way through whatever we're moving through. And that feels so relieving that I'm like, oh, I can have a bad day, I can have a wonderful day, I can have an in-between day. It's all acceptable here. And then the weird comes out and the fun comes out too.
Yeah, it's definitely you got to be a weirdo to be drawn to this and to stick it through, but the best kind. So Derek Daly, who is a wilderness therapy brother from another mother from a great program called Legacy, he popped on the chat with a really great question. Did your alone experience teach you more about control or surrender?
Surrender.
Yeah, surrender.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I started realizing that every moment had whatever it was. You know, at one moment you have hunger, one moment you have loneliness, one moment you have tired, whatever that was. But for me, I was able to take each of those moments and just say, okay, this is what I'm feeling right at this moment, no big deal, and just feel it and be okay with it and just surrender to it, and that was great. By the end, I was making a calendar, and with that calendar, I'd put a 1, or I'd put whatever happened that day, right? So I'd burn in, I caught 5 fish today, or whatever it was. And then I had a 1 for those days that I felt I was completely grounded where I was. I wasn't thinking about the cheeseburger at home. I wasn't thinking about this. I wasn't thinking about that. But it was this moment of, you know, recognizing that, man, if that day happened, I just put a 1 for that day. That was like, I was completely and utterly present here today. And I surrendered to full extent to that. And just loved the experience.
Any other thoughts on control and surrender in regards to your experience on Alone? It's a consensus.
Maybe
Surrender.
Another angle on the surrender. You know, when you're out there, it's all about figuring out how to get food, right? And so you let go of everything else, all your other thoughts, you know, and the focus gets really directed. So you're, in a way, you're surrendering to the situation, and doing everything you can to solve a problem. And that's a really amazing experience, to have that like singularity of purpose.
Makes sense.
And when you are surrendered and the food does come, like that immense gratitude that feels like it's a gift from above, or like everywhere else, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, it is like a beam of light. I mean, and it's of course nutrition and energy too, but it's like, oh my gosh, because you're not expecting anything. You're not trying to, you have no idea if it's coming, but when it does hit, I mean, I could have, like it's unbelievable.
Did anybody cry over a meal?
Many times.
As an audience member, I've cried as an audience member when y'all get food.
Yeah, I feel like I could eat up the whole hour talking about surrender, but it was a huge piece for me out there. It's just a lot of my big like awakening moments on Alone had to do with surrender and realizing how much you, or me, that I can lose when I'm caught up in attaching to a future outcome and holding on to like, this must happen like this or like that, and like trying to sort of will it instead of letting things unfold as they unfold, and actually letting go and realizing that I don't have any control over it. And I think that, you know, the trail or any time outside teaches you that it doesn't matter, you know, the wind the wind and the rain and the snow, and yeah, food comes or not, it's we don't really have control over it, but able to release that and just surrender and be just grateful for whatever happens instead of trying to hold on to it. I've had some huge epiphany moments out there around surrender. So yeah.
I'm curious about what was some funny things that happened to you. Like I got to imagine that there's some kind of inside jokes. I like to watch The Office sometimes, and sometimes when people just look at the camera, you know. You have any of those moments where you wish you could share a joke with somebody, just didn't get it caught on camera, or it didn't make the cut or something?
So at one point I'm asleep, and I'm dreaming that I'm having a bite of a pie, and I wake up and I was literally, my mouth was going towards the pie and I was just like, no, it just disappeared out of my hands. So yeah, that was.
Anybody else have one of those?
I had the reoccurring bad dream that I was at home or at the hot spring, someplace really comfortable, and my yellow brick would go off, like time to check in, and I would realize how far away from the Arctic I was, and
my
that there's no way I could get back there in time for them to know that, not know that I was gone, and like how did I get out of the game?
Oh my gosh, I had dreams like that too. There was one, I had this dream where I hitchhiked. I hitchhiked from the Alone place and then went off. I actually went to go get Q-tips to clean my ears. Out of all the things, I did have a lot of food dreams too, but this one I would hitchhike, I'd leave, I'd go hitchhike into a store, get Q-tips for my ears. But you want to know why I had those dreams? Is because I literally had a bug in my ear the whole time before.
No way.
Yeah,
Well,
the whole time, the
Oh,
whole
like,
no
3
way.
months, there was a
Could
bug
you
in my
hear it?
ear.
Could you hear it like buzzing in there?
Yeah, I mean, eventually it died, and then it was just in there dead, but it was still bothering me.
what the heck?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, did
What
you ever like
the
try to make
heck?
like a stick to get it out? You ever seen like
Yeah, I was
yeah.
trying to get it out, but yeah,
Oh,
flew
man.
in the like before we launched during the welcome ceremony, and then it was in there the whole time, and the doctor found it at the hospital after. I was like, I knew that bug was still in there.
I knew it.
That sounds like another surrender story.
Yeah.
Right. Good job.
There was a point where I could go out on the rocks and look into the ocean, but I could see further down the bay, and I would hear these large helicopters moving very far in the distance, but they were logging. They're pulling out huge old growth somethings, and so at night my mind, without me really knowing, would go into work out these plans where I was going to take my canoe and raid their camp and get like all the eggs and the cookies and try not to get shot. And I know there was going to be some like loggers there. So how do I evade and where do I find their goods? I had worked out this massive plan. I even had the tides, like they're going to push me out to that place and then I'm going to catch the tide back. I almost did it.
Man.
I almost did it. I even talked to the producer. I said, hey, is it a part of the show if like, I know we want to have this illusion that nobody else is out there ever, but would that be cool? Would that be fun? He's like, I don't know. Let me think about that. But yeah, obviously that's not the direction the show went because it's season 1. They didn't know where they're going to take it really yet. But I don't think raiding the loggers camp was a part of it. So,
Brother, that is kind of classic Young Walker thinking right there.
Right. You're not wrong.
Yeah, alone dreams. That's amazing. I bet your dreams out there were interesting. It would be fun to have a dream journal, but you're not allowed. So if any of you feel like your experience in wilderness therapy helped prepare you for your experience in Alone, talk about how it prepared you or what skills you might have learned or developed at Anasazi in wilderness therapy that you brought with you into Alone.
What skills wouldn't you? Oh my gosh. I mean, we learned so much at Anasazi, right? I mean, all the hard skills and then the soft skills and then just being comfortable with just being on the land. And, I mean, that would have to be the biggest one, was just being comfortable wherever you were at, wherever you slept, Yeah, that was a big one. But I mean, all the hard skills, everything from fire to, just being out there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Do y'all feel like wilderness therapy was preparatory for you? Callie, you kind of talked about that. But...
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was working at Anasazi in wilderness therapy was so huge in just kind of like opening this big gateway for me into the whole world of other people that are into this thing. Mm-hmm. But it really, I mean, like Dave said, there's nothing that I didn't learn at Anasazi that didn't help me prepare for the time. Just dealing with being hungry, being uncomfortable, being cold, and just still knowing it's like you're okay. Like you are okay, no matter how cold you get or how hungry or how frustrated. It's fine, and the storms always pass. The sun always comes out eventually, and you can dry your socks and your sleeping bag out eventually, or whatever it is. It just, I feel like the trail teaches so much resilience and comfortability too, just being just being at home on the land. And then I think comfort with your own self, because I think some people that have never been alone before, then you face yourself and you have to kind of like deal with all of that. But if you've worked, even though wilderness therapy, you don't get a lot of alone time, I feel like you see yourself and you know yourself well, and you've kind of like dealt with your stuff. So just that aspect too. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I brought
Callie, you mentioned reading the Outdoor Survival Skills book by Larry Olsen, and I'm just reminded of your comment there. It reminded me of the very first chapter of that book. He talks about the philosophy of the caveman, and that nails it right there. I think it's really well said.
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about the therapeutic value of being with the same people 24/7, day after day after day, but also the incredible therapeutic value of being completely alone, and how y'all have been able to have both of those experiences. Luke, did you have anything you wanted to add on that? We haven't heard a lot from you.
Yeah, definitely I can echo that everything that you learn at Anasazi, all the hard skills, all the pushing through the miles, hiking in the dark, like everything that you achieve out there is definitely been helpful on the alone experience and the rest of life as well. It's and growing up that way, it didn't seem like it was as unique as it is, so that was really awesome to get connected to the Alone family as well and find even more people. Like Callie said, plugging into the network of people is one of the best things about it.
Yeah, I'll mention something on this topic. Everybody that goes on Alone, we have like a natural, I think, connection to other participants, right? There's something relatable about having gone through that experience together. And I think it's equally true, maybe even if not more so, with having worked at Anasazi and spent time, as a guide on the trail. Like this whole group, I didn't spend time with each of you out there in the wilderness, but I relate to you because I know we share an experience that we all really value. And I think one of the other really cool things about having spent a lot of time, we call it dirt time, right? Just a lot of time out there on the trail, is that you learn that it's not dangerous. You learn that it's safe out there. And so going on Alone, if you spend a lot of time already sleeping on the ground, already in the wilderness, you can go out there with this kind of confidence that everything's going to be okay, that you're going to be safe. And as a matter of fact, just recently, I had the opportunity to look at some data around wilderness therapy, and looking at over 2.2 million days of students or clients being out in the wilderness, and looking at their safety in the wilderness. There's some amazing results. It's actually 6.5 times safer for young people between the ages of 15 and 24 to be in the wilderness rather than life as usual. So, and all of us that have spent a lot of time out there, we realize that it's very safe. You're in the wild animals, struggling, going through all these experiences. But at the end of the day, everybody comes out, just better off. And so I think that certainly, this group of 6 past Anasazi field guides, and Anasazi being the largest employer of any, of Alone participants, I think we all went out there with that sense of confidence.
Those are pretty cool statistics. I mean, that 6.5 times. That's astounding. I feel like when a lot of people, when they first hear about wilderness therapy, they think it's going to be some kind of like a boot camp experience. And there's a huge misconception. So I want to hear from, well, I want to hear from everybody. If you feel like, what do you feel like are the biggest misconceptions, and how do you talk to people about those misconceptions about wilderness therapy in particular?
Well, I think that one too, the whole, we were talking about control earlier. I think that what you said, Nate, a lot of people do think that wilderness therapy is like this military boot camp, and there's like all this control and like force and pushing people to do things. And that's one of the things that I just love about Anasazi, is that it isn't that. That it really is just kind of like, as the guides, we're there to keep people safe and let them have their own experience, and that things happen in nature if you don't prepare, but it's not people forcing their will and being like, these are some contrived rules, and if you don't follow them, you get beaten or punished, or things taken away from you. It's just like, hey, we're out here, and if you don't want to set up a tarp, that's okay. You'll probably get rained on and get wet, but that's your choice, and no one's gonna, get yeah, you're like, I'll get rained on. And so I just love that at Anasazi, that it's not pushing and forcing people to do anything. It's letting them have their own experience, unless, they're like safe, extreme safety is concerned. So that's one of the things.
Thanks, Callie.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm oblivious to some of this talk about boot camps towards. I always hear people just saying, oh, yeah, send my kid off into the wilderness. That sounds like an amazing thing. So that's funny, because I just don't, maybe I'm just oblivious to it. I don't hear anybody.
You are, Dave. The conversation
yes.
the conversation has shifted in recent years a lot, because that used to be the response I would get in these conversations too. There were programs operating in the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s that were beyond abusive in reality. And so that's where this conversation comes from. And I think it's a understandable trauma response when anything that looks remotely like what hurt you is also dangerous. And so that's why I think this is a really important question that I want to hear more insights on, about like we've talked about, what makes Anasazi not that thing that people are afraid of.
I think what Anasazi,
or wilderness therapy in general.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can't speak for all wilderness therapy, right? We can speak for I can speak for Anasazi. I've worked with them. If you put your kid in Anasazi, or if you as an adult walker, which you're able to also do, come to Anasazi, what you're going to get is a team of people around you that support the best you in that situation. And so we're going to get you skilled up really quick. You're going to be outside and you might not like where you're at. You might not understand what's going on. And within a week or two, that transforms pretty drastically and magically for most people. They go from not knowing how to tie knots to pretty soon knowing how to tie their pack, to tie up their tarp, to know how to start a fire in maybe a number of different ways. So what you see is an individual actually becoming empowered with these core skills, which just builds so much confidence and resilience. You just see a whole new person emerge where they didn't think they could do any of this. And then once that belief in themselves, and they actually become physically skilled and emotionally skilled, and at the same time, we're supporting them through any sort of cathartic shifts, whether they need to let something out or move through a hardship internally. We're there. And so you see these people gaining skills every day, leveling up, and you can't almost recognize the shift in a week 1 person and a week 6 person, or a week 4 person even. And again, we're not forcing it. We're waiting for these young people to make the ask. Hey, Callie, hey, Luke, how do I tie that knot again? I kind of didn't remember. Yeah, come on over. We'll show you. So you see a lot of that. They're asking for help, which sometimes a lot of us struggle with, myself included. So it's just incredible, the transformations that we see.
Mm-hmm. I think some people think even just having children outdoors is abuse. I think the idea,
Sorry.
It's really true. We are so far removed from nature, a lot of our culture, and ever more so. And so I think sometimes just the idea that children will ever be, a little uncomfortably hot or a little uncomfortably cold. But maybe, does anyone want to speak to kind of like the safety, or just address those concerns so kind of what would you say, or how would you address those concerns for someone who is asking about wilderness therapy, interested maybe for their family or for themselves or something?
Yeah, building resilience in your youth will protect you for your whole life. It's way more valuable than the uncomfortable moment that you're going through. The lessons learned and the strengths built, it's invaluable.
Yeah, I agree too. Doing something that you think you can't do and it's hard, and then you do it, is so empowering. And when you're empowered, you have confidence and you feel good about yourself, and then you try other things, and you actually experience life. And life isn't meant to be comfortable all the time. It's just not. And that's like why being outside is so good, because it's real life. This is real. Sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're cold, sometimes you get wet. It's okay.
Sometimes it's your own dang fault.
That's right.
And sometimes, yeah, and that's the great thing about wilderness therapy, is like you get to be with people that are going to teach you how to be comfortable. And if you listen and pay attention, you can be so comfortable in an outdoor setting, in a wilderness setting, if you pay attention to the people that are trying to help you. But a lot of people, sometimes their process isn't listening and getting cold and wet and hungry. And then you learn why you might want to, like Lucas said, ask for help and learn those things, and then come out so empowered. And I mean, I hear, whether it's on the Anasazi Trail or just, whatever, some of my own programs that I get to run now with like adults, when people do something hard and then they get to talk about it, that's where all that joy comes from. They're like, yes, I did this hard thing. Can you believe it? We did it. And that's life. It's so good for all of us to experience that. So,
And we want the right kind of hard things, right? Like we want the right type of challenges to give our young ones. Yeah, that's so important. And this outdoor wilderness space provides the right kind. Plus, we're trained as trail walkers. If we see anything that's level 9 or 10 or anything that's really dangerous, like, of course, we're stopping that. But otherwise, we create this kind of circle for like, we want you to make mistakes. We want you to make good choices too, but we want you to make the right kind of mistakes so you can look at it, grow, and learn. And as I'm a parent, I want my child to make mistakes, the right kind of mistakes. If he's playing in the road, I'm stopping that, right? That's what we do as trail walkers. We're not letting anybody metaphorically play in the road. We're letting them, can I jump off this 2-foot bank into the sand, Daddy? Yes, you can. Try it and see what happens. That's the sort of parent I am. So
I've got a question as a follow-up to that, Lucas. The right kind of those experiences, the right kind of mistakes. I'm thinking about the difference between something that feels risky and something that feels adventurous. What do you think is the difference, or is there one? That's a question for everybody.
Certainly what comes natural, right? The natural course of things matters in that regard. Just let things happen. As parents, I think we're always trying to, we're tempted to steer our children's lives in ways that maybe aren't the natural course, and being there to encourage rather than to direct makes a big difference.
Yeah. Plus there's this aspect of risk management, right? And understanding what's going to be dangerous in our mind and what's actual, what are the actual dangers going to be. So of course we're always looking at what those dangers might be, how close, getting a little too close to the fire or whatever that might be. But I think all of us as responsible individuals are always looking at that. I mean, we're always letting go to God as well, trying to get that guidance, it seems like. But it was always, being aware and being wise. I think that's part of being a trail walker, was being wise to the situation.
And risky and adventurous for me, having been a teenager that had a risky youth in some ways, like when we can provide the right type of field, then that risk and adventure, I think, can coexist in a good way. But if we just let the field be too broad, I think that's where it's dangerous. Like it's risky driving down the road, too fast. Like as a young kid, as a teenager, I did that, right? But if I wish that I had something like Anasazi. I really did. I'm like, I wish there was people to teach me, and we could have the right type of adventures, like the right type of okay, guys, we gotta make it through this this passage here. It's gonna rain in a little bit, and we don't want to get caught in this low ground. And so we could camp up here and be fine, but it's not going to be very comfortable. But if we hike for another hour, the storm's coming in 6 hours. It looks like, that sort of adventure. Okay, guys, we all got to band together, and we have a hiker that's not very strong. Like, okay, come on, Tommy, you can do it. You can do it. And so all of a sudden it becomes this wonderful thing where we have to harmonize and push through and find a way. And then when we get there, like, Tommy, you really hiked. It was incredible. You haven't been hiking this whole trip, and you really showed up today. And then there's this, especially when we do something together, I think that's obviously the big difference between Alone and Anasazi, is that Anasazi with this team of wonderful people. Sometimes it's challenging working with other people, and that's a part of life too. But I wish I just had a better field to have engaged in risk and adventure growing up. And I think that's something that Anasazi provides.
Man, Lucas, it reminds me of another question, because the work that we do at Anasazi is so focused on others, and the bond that we share and the things that we learn about overcoming our own self-obsession, or my obsession with the idea of the self. There's a value in solitude, but it just seems like human beings are not supposed to be alone. So I want to know what you learned from that experience of being truly alone. How much of it's good, and how much of it did you ever have one of those moments where you're like, this is not for human beings. We're not supposed to be. We're not alone creatures.
Totally. I'll just jump into it real quick, and then I'll stop myself. But I think that is a deep, almost, for lack of a better word, like it's a spiritual experience being alone. And when I went on, they were still figuring out how to support you aftercare and a lot of things like that. I think it's really something that it's good with a guide. It's good with somebody who's walked that path before you. I don't think just going out alone for a very extended amount of time, and I'm talking like probably past 10 or 12 days, is probably, I'm not a doctor in this, but I wouldn't recommend it to people. I'd say a couple days is good for folks, but long term, my heart started to ache for my people massively.
I'd have to say that I had a slightly different experience with that, just because there was times they were trying to give us more and more time away from people, and they would start off with a few days, and then they would go to a week, and then they actually went 20 days without having anybody come to us. Within those 20 days, I felt fantastic. And actually, when they did arrive, I was annoyed because they interrupted one of my meals. But that's my own personal thing. And
you're interrupting my groove, man.
Exactly. And I think the fact that I knew there was going to be an end to it, right? So that's, of course, like if there was a situation where I'm out there and I don't know if I'll ever see a person again, man, that would mess with my head. But I do recognize the fact that for me, the connection isn't always with people. It's with everything that's out there. So trying to build a connection to the trees and the plants and the animals out there. And that was very, very powerful for me. So as far as that alone aspect, I don't know, because I definitely noticed a lot of people were bringing pictures of their families, where I thought, I don't know if that's a good idea, because you're allowed one picture, one photograph, at least you were at my season. I brought a picture of the Southern Constellations because I was in Patagonia, and then this way I would focus, because I'll see my family when I see my family, but this gives me the opportunity to connect to the night sky. This gives me the connection, that opportunity to connect to everything else. And on the back, I even had 3 poems that I memorized, which I know a lot of people are going to be jealous about that one, because I could memorize those poems, and they were fantastic. And I actually got them from Anasazi as well, that I listened to those. So
I would say I valued the alone time because of how unnatural it is in our society to do. It's something that the opportunity to do is very rare. And so when I finally was immersed into it, I recognized that. And just like Dave, I feel like I valued that alone time.
So when you were on alone and when you were all alone, were there times when you weren't alone? That's kind of a theme for Anasazi this year at our gala that Nate's going to shout out. But does anybody have anything to say about that? Not being never alone, not being alone when you're alone. Dave, you talked about kind of connection to the elements and the things that you were connected to. Anyone else?
I can speak to that a little bit. For the first several weeks of my experience, I was so wrapped up in trying to figure out, how to stay there, how to be able to stay long term, that consumed all of my thinking. But then later had the opportunity to, once I figured out some things around surviving in that space, to reflect on family and friends and loved ones. And one of the practices that I had while out there was to just take a child each day and think about their life, like dig up from my mind every memory I could from the time they were born to present. And that practice of just like thinking about that one person, pulling out those, dusty files from my brain and opening up those memories was really an amazing experience. And so actually, I think in that solitude was able to feel even more connected to loved ones.
Oh, that warms my heart just hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah. I loved the alone time so much. And I was out there for 3 months and I never felt lonely, not once. I also, like, Dave got annoyed when the med team would come to check on us. I'd be like, oh gosh, you guys are throwing me off I would be just dropping into such a deep place and then they'd come and I'm like, great, it's going to take me a few days to like drop back into where I was. Because I just loved the alone time, but I never felt alone out there, even though I didn't have, people to hang out with or to talk to on the phone or anything like that. And, one of the reasons is because even though, oh my gosh, the moon is rising. Oh, it's so big and orange.
It's a super moon. It's a super moon tonight.
Yeah. Oh man, it is. Wow. Because just like this, I felt, the longer I was out there, the more connected I felt to the birds and the trees and the rocks and the ground and the wind. And so I didn't feel alone because I wasn't alone. There weren't people out there, but there's so much other life and so many other things to feel and experience. And so I never felt alone because I didn't actually feel alone. But like Nathan, I also felt really connected to my loved ones out there. My mom, even though I didn't talk to her that whole time, it's not like we can write letters like at Anasazi, you get letters from your parents, but on Alone, there's no contact. You do not hear from your family in any shape or form the whole time you're out there. But my mom, there was just some days I could feel her, and I just kind of knew that my family was okay, that my mom was all right. And there's just like these connections, even from afar. And like one example of this is the medical team, they came to check on us and it was around Thanksgiving. I was like, hey, did Thanksgiving pass? Like, is it Thanksgiving? Like, also, are you guys going to bring us any treats for Thanksgiving? Of course, they did not bring us any treats, but also they told us, they're like, no, we're not going to tell you what day Thanksgiving is. I'm like, well, that's rude to not.
I'm just going to give thanks every day. Joke's on you.
Yeah, they're like, no, you don't need to know or something. They tried to be standoffish to not give us like the human connection. But anyway, after the med team left a few days later, I knew that it was Thanksgiving because I could feel all my family together. And I was like, I know I can feel them all. And I know that they're all together for Thanksgiving. And it was so real. And I like verified it after I got off that I was correct. It's like you can tap into those people that you love. So
that's beautiful.
You send those messages on the wind. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we're connected we don't need telephones.
100%.
I have a question. When we talk to young walkers, there are some specific awakenings that we target or that we hope for at least. We hope that they awaken to their seed of greatness, and we hope that they awaken to their belonging place. I'd like to hear a little bit about it, this experience that you had on this deal, like being on that Alone show. Did it help in any regard with those particular awakenings, in awakening to your own seed of greatness or to your belonging place?
I think it kind of relates to where we're the vein of what we're talking about, which is somewhere on that journey of alone for me, and it seems like for a lot of other folks, all this pretense is stripped away, and you get down to some sort of core truth in which you exist in, and it starts to blend with nature, and it feels almost supernatural, and it feels so awake and good, and it isn't just a passing thing. Like you're in an empowered, like your spidey senses are going off. If something's bad or good this way, you can feel your family chirping at you, or you're sending messages. But somewhere there too, you, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, that I got to the heart of who I was. Like I started to exist in that, for lack of a better word, like a fully embodied, living, breathing space of what I know I believe in and what I'm experiencing. And it's not just a think, it's like, it's not a neural place anymore. And I felt incredibly forgiving of myself and other people. I felt incredibly patient. I felt stable. I felt like so alive, present. And like everything was rich. Like there wasn't, like everything that happened felt miraculous. I don't know how else to say it, but that, getting back to your question, there was just like, that was a part of my seed of greatness. Like, oh, wow. Like the beautiful person that I knew I was, the empowered, fully awake, fully alive person is in there. I've touched him. I've met him. I've shaken hands with him for a long time. I can be that person. Yeah.
Well said.
I think a common theme there, Nate, to that question, is gratitude. It's pretty simple. When you are spending time in the wilderness, especially if you're struggling, you tend to be super grateful for how good your life actually is. And so it creates a brand new perspective, an objective way actually to reflect on your life outside of the wilderness. And that naturally does those two things, right? You realize, that you're extremely blessed, that you have wonderful people, wonderful things in your life, and wonderful opportunities. And, we see that out, as trail guides in the wilderness, that you saw that happen over and over and over again with young people out there. And, Alone is very similar in that. And I think all of us who have spent a lot of time on the trail easily, understood that we would be going through that process again as we went out into the field for Alone.
Man, you guys, you probably have had those late evenings out on the trail where you're passing the talking stick and your fire circle goes for a long time, and you hear and see and feel things that just enrich you. And I feel like this is one of those times. I feel like I could just keep the talking stick going forever and ever, and hear more and more of your thoughts and your wisdom. But I want to say thank you sincerely for all of you for volunteering your time, for just being who you are. And I'm proud to be associated with you through Anasazi. Thanks very much. Tam, do you have any closing remarks? Anything that you want to say? Give you last word here.
Let's let Larry Dean Olsen have the last word. There's a quote in the 7 Paths book that says, "Whether we walk among our people or alone among the hills, happiness in life's walking depends on how we feel about others in our hearts. And with that, yeah, I just want to second that we really appreciate your time and what you've shared. Beautiful, beautiful. I know people will be edified and inspired by it. And with that, I'll say, sure, love you.
Thanks. Sure
You
love
guys
you.
are awesome.
Love ya.